Welcome to the Weekly InSalt. It's episode 271.
271.
I'm Kurt. I'm the sound guy.
Hey,
I'm joined with
VP of Sound.
VP of Sound. That's right. I forgot. And I'm joined with Wade.
What's
and
up,
Laura?
Hey.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
And then also joining us today is Brady, who is a firefighter.
Yeah. Did you want us to say your full name?
First name's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
First
Welcome,
name's
Brady.
Good.
Yeah, we forgot to ask that before.
We did.
Shit.
Oh, well.
Welcome, Brady.
Hey.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
I have to start the show off with this. Today's been an interesting day.
What happened?
The weirdest McDonald's experience I've had in a while. I went and got breakfast before the show, and I pulled into the drive-thru. Some lady was backing out of the parking lot. I'm thinking she's leaving. She cut me off to get in line for the drive-thru. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then I have my window down, and I hear her say, I just want the smallest fry that you have. And they're like...
like one little fry?
No, just like smallest, I guess, bag of fries or whatever you'd call
Small
it.
fry.
A small
Yeah.
fry.
I think it's the kids' meal. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Happy Meal?
they were like, you want fries? She was like, yeah, the smallest thing of fries I can get. They're like, well, we don't make fries until 11. Which is at 10:30,
Yeah.
you know? And she's like... all right, I guess I'll just come back then. And it struck me as weird for two reasons. One is you're a half an hour too early for French fries, but then you're going to make a separate trip back for the smallest one you can get?
Yeah.
That's weird to me. Would you, like, if I...
No.
Sorry, I was 30 minutes early. I think I'll just go home. What? Are you going to sit in the...
I would have
Maybe
gone
she lost
somewhere
a
else.
bet?
Yeah,
You're saying-
reroute to Burger King.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they serve lunch during breakfast
Yeah,
hours.
like
I think they
all
do,
hours, yeah. But then it gets even weirder,
Uh-oh.
right? So I go through the drive-through. I'm pulling out back onto the main road, and there's a sidewalk, and I see a girl on a scooter with it's a mother with her two children, girl and a boy, child. And I stop short because I see the girl on the scooter, so I'm like, oh, and they kind of walk slowly up, and then she waves at me, and she says, hey, do you want a dog? I said, no, I'm good, thank you. And she's like, this dog's a fucking asshole. And then she walks off, and then as I'm like comprehending what just happened, I turn to my left and realize that there's a giant swarm of bees
Nuh-uh.
heading straight for my open window in my
You're
truck.
making this shit
And
up,
so,
man.
no, I'm fucking not. It was the craziest shit ever put together. And I'm like, so now I'm trying to pull out of the McDonald's parking lot because these bees are coming, but then I'm rolling my window up because I'm like, oh, fuck, if they get in here, I'm going to lose my shit. But then the lady just offered me a dog. I don't know what's in the air. Like,
Dude.
I love nice weather, but man, is the Canadian smoke coming down from all those fires?
It's making her
causing
brains fuzzy.
Maybe it is.
Did you ask what type of dog it was?
it? It was a Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Yeah, pass.
She should hit up Taco Bell, I guess, right?
They
She
might
might
have
have
been
more luck.
They might have been coming from Taco Bell. I don't know. But the swarm of bees is what, you know how bees, when the bees migrate, there's like a cloud of them?
Yeah.
It was like that. I looked up and I was like,
Fuck.
no way. There's no way this is happening. I just, like, somebody left McDonald's because they didn't serve a small fry. And then I got offered a dog, and now there's a swarm of bees.
All in what, like 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But at least the customer service at McDonald's was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get your order right?
They got it right.
Did you get a Big
perfect.
Mac?
So,
No,
and then
it's
there's
not
that.
lunch. It's not lunch. They don't serve that shit till 11.
Show
No,
up.
10:30 now.
10, that's what I thought.
No,
So
the one on Fort Union still does it till 11, apparently.
Oh, nice.
That's what, at least they say that anyway.
that's fucked up.
I think they're all different, right?
What a morning.
Yeah, and then we show up to the place where we met you today, Brady, and I'm eating my McDonald's, and the lady comes up and she's like, what are you eating? I'm like, McDonald's, and she's like,
Do you recognize the bag?
she's like,
or
it better
what?
be a Big Mac. And I was like, they don't serve Big Macs until 11. And she's like, and then she just kind of stood there.
She did. She wouldn't leave us alone.
But she wasn't making eye contact, and we were trying not to either.
I'll
but-
bet she owned that electric bike that was on the porch.
Was that
I
old
was
girl
wondering.
who was hitting on me when we left?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was her.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she was a nice lady. Let's not be. I don't.
Yeah.
She was just. I was
She might
like,
be a listener, man.
She reminded me of my neighbor.
yeah. She reminded me of your neighbor too.
She's got the weird electric bike, and she's got roses in her basket in the front.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you stole those from somebody.
Those aren't your fucking roses.
Yeah. She probably was just quietly biking, like silent biking
You
past.
never hear
somebody's
them come
house.
up behind you. You're like,
Best-
Jesus, where'd you come from?
Best way to steal roses,
Yeah.
They never heard me coming.
Stealth.
But yeah, and then we saw a guy in a convertible Miata that was shirtless, driving around like, hey, I see that summer has shown up.
White frame sunglasses.
Yeah, I mean,
Brady, you have to do your Peter impersonation, please.
Miata. What kind of sports car? Miata. That's not a sports car.
so Brady, welcome, man.
Hey, thanks for having
We've been
me.
planning on doing this for like a couple months now, I think.
A couple months, yeah, since I first met you guys.
Yeah, and one thing that when I first met you that I thought was really interesting is kind of your story, how you got to where you are now. Are you okay with sharing that whole story on the show? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so you're a firefighter, and you've pretty recently gotten into doing that, right? How many years has it been?
Going on year 2 on the structure side, and
Year
then
2.
like a half season on wildland.
Mm-hmm.
But
So where did you tell us a little bit about yourself growing up and stuff, because you have an amazing story and I think it'll resonate with a lot of people.
all right, yeah. So growing up, local boy from Salt Lake, born and raised, never left. I guess I don't know.
So you obviously went to you went to school, you did all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
all that.
And then after
So,
high
yeah.
school, kind of like, how did you pick your job paths, I guess? What happened?
I never really picked them. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really have a target to aim for. It was always moving around.
So you never knew really what you wanted to be, right?
I just
Or
knew
just-
I wanted to be successful
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah.
Like have money.
Mhm.
I always wanted a boat. Still do want a boat.
You know what boat stands for, right?
Put another 1,000.
Yeah,
or
bust out another 1,000.
Yeah. Not put, because that
Yeah.
doesn't.
Well, that'd
That's a
be
poat.
Poat. Yeah, but it still works. Or would
But-
that just be pout?
Pout. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that we both went poat.
Poat. Yeah.
Since we all of a sudden forgot how the English language works.
But yeah, have a good family.
Mhm.
Like raised on Mormon traditions, obviously, and
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't click with me.
Yeah, it never did with me either.
Yeah,
Really.
and I've
Yeah.
got good, loving family who still love me for who I am, even if I don't want to do their religion.
I think
right?
that's super important,
Like-
right?
I remember my parents telling me, like, yeah, we'd like you to go on a mission, but don't do it for us, you
Yeah.
know? And so when I got to that age, it's like, yeah, this isn't for me. Like, I'd rather, like, party.
That's
Have a different
That's
mission
kind of
in
how I
mind.
was. Yeah.
My mission is to get fucked up.
Yeah.
So you probably went through those years where you did get fucked up,
Yeah.
And what was like your first job that you ever did?
Honestly, my first job I ever had, I was a hoster,
Yeah,
I guess.
a host.
A host at a Chinese buffet in West Valley.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. I'd take the bus
I've
down
got-
from Mill Creek to West Valley,
Wow.
work there on the weekends, and give people their seats and then run the cash register when I was like 14.
I mean this in the nicest possible way, but were you a little bit out of place at a Chinese buffet?
Well, yes and no. Like, so my dad's from
I
Taiwan.
figured there'd be a lot of Asian people.
Yeah, so I'm half
Yes.
Asian actually.
Oh
Wow.
shit. Well, see,
Yes.
so he's not out of place
Wait.
at all. I'm
So-
learning things every
But I
day.
don't speak it. I don't speak Mandarin, Cantonese, or
Yeah.
anything. I wish I did, but so it's just kind of like a family friend or associate of my father, who's like, hey, I don't know. I didn't come from a lot of money or anything,
Yeah.
so I learned the lesson or the importance of working for money, and been working, I guess, since I
Yeah.
was 14.
That's cool. Yeah, and my parents did the same thing. I think it was important to make me realize when I was a child that if you have to work for something and then you finally save up enough to buy it, it means something different.
It does.
Exactly.
You're not just
Yeah.
getting a handout.
Mhm.
You're like, I worked 3 months to get this. It was a motorcycle in my case, and I washed that fucking thing like every day.
Oh, you appreciate
Yeah,
it
I'm
so
out there
much.
like waxing it, and it
Yeah.
was like
Wasn't even dirty, right?
Yeah, it was like a 1998. It was old, It was dirty, like dirty
it-
beyond like what
but it
I
was
could
yours.
wash, but it was mine. Yeah, I worked hard
Yeah.
for it. I think when we had talked, and you don't have to get into it if you don't want to, but you had mentioned that obviously the partying. I'm sure that you've struggled with like some addiction before and stuff like that. Are you okay with talking about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm open about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that was a big part in what got you to where you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I had to go through a lot of shit, and
Yeah.
turmoil, like, I don't know, just hell pretty much.
So when you
Like,
were in the addiction, did you realize it? Like, were you aware, or was it just making it kind of excuses and stuff to be like, just to keep going?
I would have moments of clarity where I'd be like, yo, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
normal people do not live like this. And I told myself, like, if my family ever found out like how bad it had got, like that was my indicator that I needed help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Did they find out?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found out.
Can we say what it was, or would you rather?
Yeah, it was. I don't discriminate against drugs
Yeah.
or substances, so it was everything.
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 Like
Yep.
anything you wanted to.
Everything
You're
and
partying.
anything.
Let's just do it
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few drugs I haven't done.
Yeah.
Like, I still haven't done DMT or I don't know, ayahuasca.
Yeah.
or stuff like that. I
I've
don't
done
Yeah.
DMT, not ayahuasca, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Things I
It's-
guess that are
it's a
harder
hard
to
life.
get that are not
Yeah.
readily available from.
What the
yeah,
hell
that's
is
where
that?
you go to another country like South America or Colombia.
Colombia.
Yeah. And then you
Oh, it's like some
the
natural
shaman
plant
thing.
based-
Yeah, it's a shaman thing.
You
Oh,
drink
okay.
it, and basically the way I've heard it described is you don't have a choice. You will confront like all of your demons.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
And so you will, like, you have to have somebody there with you at all times.
They use it a lot for therapy for
Yeah.
heroin addicts and PTSD.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I've
Well-
seen like a documentary. I think it was Vice or something did a documentary on about
Yeah.
like the therapeutic values of it. But
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy that Vice has that one guy that just goes around and does all the drugs?
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know his
No,
name,
I-
but
yeah.
I don't.
He's got the best job in the world. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
he's probably got to have. But I think he approaches it from a really scientific standpoint.
He does. Yeah.
So he
yeah.
doesn't seem like a guy that would get stuck into a drug. He probably would be like, oh, I know enough about it that, like, one thing they did was crocodile, and they called out the truth drug. And the people who buy it, basically, if you even inhale a little bit of it, you're just open to any suggestion,
I have
right?
to ask, is it made out of crocodiles?
Well,
No.
it's
I don't know.
necrotic, isn't it? Like it eats the flesh if you inject
Oh.
it.
You'll have to Google that.
Like,
Kurt. I
Huh.
don't
That's
know.
what I've seen. Anyways.
So,
But basically, if you inhale any, and the people, they were opening it in the Jeep, right, the back of their Jeep, and the guy driving was like, "Don't, I need to pull over, because if any of that gets in the air, then all of us are going to be open to suggestions, and we're going to get into some crazy shit."
Oh, shit.
So
What's it
basically,
called again?
Crocodile. It's with a K.
I think it's KROK.
KIDIL. I don't know.
Yeah, something
I
like
think
that.
so. But what they would use it for is, like, you could be sitting at a bar and then somebody could just have it in a straw and just go and just blow it towards you, and you'll breathe it
Yeah.
in, and then they'll be like, "Hey, my name is so and so. Nice to meet you. Hey, can you go to the ATM and give me all of your money in your checking
No.
account?" And you'll go,
okay.
"Yeah, okay, let's go."
Oh, that's
and you're
That's
like
scary.
semi-conscious.
Do you want to know
conscious?
the actual scientific name of that is?
yeah.
Yeah, the chemical structure.
My God.
I can't believe you volunteered to say that. That's
Right.
why I said yes.
Dihydrodesoxymorphine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
So
an
is there
opiate
a
derivative, right?
Description about what it does to you?
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. But the way they basically said is you'll go empty your bank account for a person, you'll go move all of your shit out of your house, and you'll just be like, "Yeah, it's the right thing to do. I just need to do it."
That's
and you don't know why.
scary.
Yeah, and that's why even the guy that bought it, who was driving the truck, he's like, "Don't you dare open that while I'm driving. Because if it hits us all, you never know." Like,
Sounds like the same thing a blackjack table does to me.
yeah. Have you had the gambling thing too?
I love to gamble.
A little bit, but not to that extreme. I'm kind of exaggerating.
Oh, sure.
I'll still go back to the ATM.
But going full circle, and Kurt, feel
Gotcha.
free to interrupt if you find a description of that. But you were a partier, you know. You I'm sure at some point you had moments of clarity. But what was like the low moment when you were like, "I got to get my shit together," or "I need to change something"?
So yeah, I don't have like any like past child traumas or things that like, oh, this is why I'm like I fucking party or use the way I do. But I think I just always am searching for a good time, you know. And I noticed that I was like structured or wired a little bit differently, like when other people, like my friends, you know, the people in my ick tribe were like doing successful things, building their lives and everything, and I was just kind of stuck in this
The party mode
and stuff. And obviously, you know, substances led to one thing and another, and I got down into this like, you know, place. It's like a different world actually, like, and I was kind of like addicted to that in a sense too, where I could kind of keep this clean image and portray like who I was and not like living like a double life almost, you know, like I was an actor, like people didn't know that I was doing all these things, right? But then, you know, find me at 3 a.m. in Kearns, like, hanging out with like sketchy people that
Yeah.
They, like
who
normally
are on the run, like that I shouldn't be hanging out with.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So what brought you around?
So, like I said earlier, like I told myself I'd have these moments of clarity where I'd just be like, yo, what the fuck am I doing? And if my family ever found out, if it started affecting them, that was my like indicator, like the boundary that I had to get help.
That's like the ripcord.
Yeah.
If it affects my family, then I'm done.
Yeah. And I remember when that day came and I was just in denial still. I was like, fuck this. Like, you know.
So did your like family approach you and be like, you need help?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I don't. You don't know.
Yeah. Like, you don't know. Yeah, exactly. And then, so, you know, I caused a lot of damage with like the loved ones I have and people I've hurt, you know.
Yeah,
That's the sad thing about addiction is like, you're in this like cyclone and everything, like you're in a tornado and everything that you touch, like you destroy.
Yeah.
Right. But you're so comfortable living in the eye of the storm where you think you're just numb and you think you're just, you know, hurting yourself or you don't even care. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it affects everyone that's in your life, you know.
Yeah. You've been, we've talked about it, I think, on not in depth, but your son went through a very similar thing.
Yeah, he did. It's hard on the family. It definitely is.
Yeah, it's hard on friends. I'm sure you lost
family.
a lot, like to hit rock bottom. You probably, you know, a lot, like you said, did a lot of damage.
And that's the hardest thing is like the things that I did and the trust that I lost and the people that I cared most about is who I hurt the most.
Mm-hmm.
And there've been, you know, so many rock bottoms, but like the sad and the good thing is that it just gets deeper, you know, until you finally hit that point. Yeah. And honestly, like there were so many like rock bottoms and when I finally got help, when I finally realized that like something needed to change, it wasn't even that bad, you know?
Yeah, it was. So you were,
I was in like an outpatient program therapy thing. And, I was nodding off, you know, cause I was high during the group and the counselor called me out and she's like, you got to go sit outside. I can't have you in here. And of course I'm just in denial. I'm just like, no, it's like, I'm tired. I've been working all night. I've been doing this, like every excuse.
Yeah. All the excuses.
Like addicts have, you know, like, you know, cause we never want to, we never want to face the truth. We never want to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in active addiction, like you're almost incapable of being honest, you know?
Yeah.
And so finally she met up with me after the group and she told me, I was just like, honestly, like, I think I'm so much more addicted than these other people in here that like recovery, like is getting clean isn't possible for me.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's all I needed. Like, thank you for being honest. We can work with that.
Oh.
And I'm like, whoa.
So when you were at your deepest, you're like, I'm so far past these people that are in this group.
There's no help for me.
I can't, like, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
She's like, well, now we can start.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like what it took. Like, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, you're like, I just told you I'm giving up. And then she's like, yeah, that's where we start. And then your probably brain is like, holy shit.
Yeah. And I still didn't believe her. You know, I still like, no, like I'm beyond help. You know, I can't.
I don't think you understand.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I think about this 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stop using. Like, I can't stop lying about using. You know?
You're like, I will never get better. You're like, you've given up, basically. Yeah.
Like, I want to, and I don't want to. You know?
And then how was the road back up? Tough, I'm sure, but
yeah, hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so from there, like I had insurance at the time, and I was able to get into a treatment center, and I was there for like, I don't know, 35 days, I think.
Okay.
Like residential.
Yeah.
Like separated from drugs, alcohol, and a sober thing, like trying to get better
therapy.
with everyone else, you know?
Yeah.
And I understood that I finally like learned the lesson that like, if I need to get better, I cannot lie anymore.
Yeah. Like, you just have to be truthful.
I just have to own my truth. Right. And they call it being rigorously honest.
Yeah.
And, I still had a bag, like a rainy day fund is what we called it, you know, like stashed away at my parents' house. And I knew that it was consuming my thoughts, right? I knew I was going to go back to that. I was going to get out of this treatment center and then get high one more time.
Which is in your mind, you're like, at least I've got one more time.
Yeah.
But all it
Yeah.
takes is that one more time.
Exactly.
Yeah. To get you right back. Like all the progress you made is just gone.
Yeah. And so I was in there for probably like a week and a half, fantasizing. It was consuming my thoughts. And then one day, like during like a group therapy session, I just got up and like left and went down to like the staff desk and told them like, hey, I got to make a phone call. Like I just knew that I had to get honest right then and there.
Yeah.
And tell on myself.
Yeah.
So I called my mom, told her where the bag was, like, and she's like, my mom is so wonderful. She's like a saint, you know.
Yeah.
I put her through so much shit, and she still loves me, supports me, and she's a nurse and she worked graveyard, so she woke up like to my call.
Yeah.
Her son in rehab, telling her that I had dope, you know, stashed away,
And that you just wanted to get rid of it.
and she thought I was getting kicked out and stuff, but then she understood what I was asking.
Yeah.
I was like, please, Ma, just get rid of it. Like, I can't go back to this. And she's like, thank you for telling me the truth, you know? And I'm just like, with that, like,
It was freeing probably.
Yep.
like I felt like the shackles had been broken and I could,
And then
like,
you could really focus.
I could shake off the chains, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where like it took a turn.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, fuck. Like taking these suggestions of being like totally honest and transparent
Yeah.
actually have an effect on the way I behave, the way I feel, the way I think. And from that, I just hit the ground running. Like, I took every suggestion that people laid out in front of me because I had to surrender that I didn't know shit about being clean and sober, right?
Yeah. They're like, try this, do that.
Do
You're like,
that,
okay,
yeah.
it's worth. I'll try anything.
I remember them telling, like, some speaker came to our rehab and they're like, "There got 20 of you here, so 1 out of 10 are going to make it. So 2 out of 20, 2 of you guys are going to make it. 2 of you people." So I'm like, all right, me and someone else. Who's it going to be?
Good
Yeah.
You know,
attitude.
like,
Yeah. That's amazing. to hear.
Statistics are actually
yeah,
very
it's,
tough. Yeah.
yeah. But statistics are skewed, and it's all about what action you take,
Yeah.
right? So,
And I don't think without your attitude and the way that you changed your mind, you would have been able to do what you have. I mean, now you're a firefighter, dude. And
Yeah.
you spent all of that time. And I don't think it was wasted time. I don't like to say that people waste time. I think it was just a lesson that you
learning
learned the hard
lessons,
way.
I think I needed to go.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that experience, even though like the damage I caused,
But it formed you into who you are today.
exactly,
And
right?
you spent all that time hurting yourself to go through all of that to now just be selflessly helping others, which
Yeah.
is a crazy.
Well, then it's like, if I
Crazy
can quit that, like,
I can do anything.
anything's going to be so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I'm sure it's still a constant battle too. I mean, probably not like it was, but there's still times where it's like shit. You go through a rough patch or whatever, and you're like, nah, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been there before. That was
And you have a great
really
support system.
Honestly, it gets
Yeah.
easier as time goes on. Like that first year, the first 2 years. That first year, I thought I was a saint, right? Because I was like, oh, I'm clean and sober now. Like, I'm doing everything I should be. But
yeah.
really, like, I'm just an asshole who doesn't have a solution anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And
That's
Yeah, to
I'm
change
still
your
trying to
thinking yet.
navigate life, and I'm still rude and mean
Yeah.
and short with the people around me. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, I'm not this fucking
Yeah.
good guy like I thought I was. And
You're sober, but you haven't
I'm
changed
sober,
your
but I'm
thinking.
still like, you know,
yeah.
like an asshole.
Yeah.
But
So then you how did you end up becoming a firefighter? Like where'd that kind of? I know you
Yeah,
did
did
some
that lead
wildland
there?
stuff, but yeah, like what was the adventure from that point?
so honest, like I think it's really important to have goals. Like for me to be like goal oriented and know what my mark, like know what target I want to hit. Give me something to aim for.
Yeah.
Like I realized after I got clean, it's just like I need structure. I need like routine, like things to tell me or things to like keep a schedule and do that. And so like these goals are really important. So first thing was I wanted to work in treatment, right? And so this treatment center I went through, they hired me, and I was the first like alumni that they ever hired.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's way cool.
Yeah. And like I had to get like before that I had a job cleaning pools and spas, and I was a pool boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, it was fine. I loved it. I got super tan.
yeah. But that routine.
But it's routine, right?
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I had a structure, like it gave me structure, right? I still make my bed every morning.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that like I do early on. Is just like
When
make
you
my
were
bed.
like in the middle of the deepest, or when you're in the middle of your addiction, did you make your bed in the morning?
fuck no, no.
No,
But it's like
there's no time for that,
yeah,
right?
if that's the first thing I can do, to make things right during the day,
Yeah.
right, I set myself up for success, right?
You know what? I don't make my bed in the morning, and I think you are probably the first person to convince me that I probably should.
I don't either.
Like just accomplish that one simple task.
Like wake up and be like, let me make my bed real quick, and then if I start off my day by doing that one thing, then the next thing's going to be
Exact, dude. It's just like it's a
really great.
It's
way
a progressive
of
like fucking thing, like you know.
It's a positive feedback loop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I can.
And
Totally
you can
see
if
that.
you can win the morning, if you get your morning going, like you're set up for like success, you know,
Yeah.
throughout the day. Like how many times have we like woken up late or I'm like, oh, my fucking day's ruined. You know,
Yeah.
I'm late for work. I got to be here. Do
the
that.
whole day you feel behind.
Yeah.
And then you end up having a bad day.
Yeah, because
You
you
feel like you didn't get anything done.
yeah, because you
Yeah.
failed your morning, right? But-
Yeah, that's true.
I don't
but-
know. First thing I do is head to the coffee machine, make myself some breakfast, get my body fed.
yeah,
Yeah.
same thing. I take a
Not
piss,
the bed though.
Yeah.
like get the coffee going,
hmm
hop in the shower, and then I make the bed. You know, but I still make sure to
To get
make
it
the
done.
bed before I leave. Otherwise, it's like I'm off. You know?
And then once you got into firefighting, you started out with wildland, but I'm sure
Yeah.
the routine and like we talked about, you go to an academy, right? That's
Yeah,
basically boot camp.
Yeah.
And so that instills some discipline and some team cohesion, I guess,
Yeah.
in you. But the exercise too probably helps because then you feel
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You feel more fit. You know, you're not just sitting around partying or
Yeah.
something.
So
you know?
yeah, let me go back a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Like
Yeah.
so, I got hired at the treatment center, right? And I was working there, loved it, like because I was giving back, right?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't like technically like certified,
Yeah.
but I was qualified. Like, yo, I've sat in that same fucking chair you're sitting in,
You can tell me
and
whatever
I'm
you want
gonna
to.
fuck.
Yeah,
I see your bullshit
bullshit.
because that's what helped me. You know, was when someone called me on my bullshit. And eventually it's just like it's draining. Like
Sure.
there's fatigue, you know, for mental health and like all our workers out there, you know, like who
100%.
deal with like the sick population, like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I need to do something where, and honestly, it didn't pay that well. So I was like, I need to do something that, like a career. It's either go back to school or do a trade or find something. And my brother-in-law, who's married to my sister, started applying to for fire departments, and he got
Yeah.
picked up. And I'm like, damn, actually, that sounds like it's pretty fun. Like, you know, and when he got hired and I saw him going through that process, going through academy and stuff, it's like, I think I want to do this, you know,
Yeah.
and that was my goal. Like, and I'm like, I have that addictive personality and like that.
You set that.
I'm kind of
and you're like,
headstrong where it's just like,
yeah.
like if that's my goal, like if my goal is to get sober, if my goal is to work in treatment, if my goal is to be a firefighter, like I already got clean and
Yeah, you made that
like-
goal, you're gonna get there.
yeah.
You're like, I'm not gonna let myself
Yeah.
stop me from
Yeah.
getting there.
So that's what I did. And it's like, you got to break down your goal, like small things, you know, like how do I get there? So I got my EMT, I started applying, and it took about a year and a half before I finally like got offered a job.
Yeah,
you know?
let's not understate that.
Yeah,
A year
that's
and a
a year and a
half
half is a long time.
Because I think in today's world, we look at, and I've mentioned this before, we look at social media and stuff
Instant
like that.
gratification.
People are already doing the things that you wish you could be
Yeah.
doing, and you can watch them do it
Yeah.
at any moment.
Yeah.
And there's a lack of understanding of how long it takes to get there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And a year, I'm sure that was a long year, but you're satisfying kind of your goal. You're satisfying baby steps in your goal by just making that next step and every day working towards that. Like you said, I think having a goal is important because you've got that thing to look forward to.
Yeah, it's
You
not
know?
just about the qualifications, about physical skill,
Yeah.
you know,
And
endurance,
it's a lot of it's like interview, like confidence and
passing
how you
a
present
test.
yourself. Yeah. Passing the written test and then
Yeah.
the physical. And then there's also like the oral board interviews where you got like 3 to 5 people just firing questions at you.
Panel interviews suck.
The panel. And
They're so bad.
like you're just sitting there in a suit and tie trying to,
Doing
like,
your best.
yeah. But
Yeah.
you get, like I got better. Each interview I had, I got something from it.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
learned.
like I learned
Yep.
from it.
Yeah.
And
That's important too, is realizing that, because I think we've all had a feeling where you feel like you didn't do a good job, and you kind of go home and you're like, ugh, or you have a meeting, you're like, I could have done so much better. But the reality is you're just learning from
Yeah.
what you did.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel bad about doing your best, because if your best wasn't good enough, you just learned how to make it better.
Yeah.
By
Yeah,
doing
I-
10 interviews. By the time you do 10 of them, you're going to be pretty good at it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of employees that work for me that said, I'm not going to interview or I'm not going to apply because I'll never get an interview. Or I'll interview and I won't get the job. I'm like, interview,
Do it.
apply, interviewing gives you skill sets for life, man.
Oh, yeah.
It
And-
teaches you how to communicate, how to build self-confidence, you know.
And the worst that somebody can say is no. And if they do, and you really want to do
okay.
it, you just go do it again.
Yeah.
And again.
Yeah,
and again.
ask the right questions. It's okay to interview your interview person, too.
And I just started
Like,
doing practice interviews
Yeah,
with like my
yeah.
friends, family, and people in fire. I'm like, hey,
Just interview
like,
me real quick. Act
will
like
you do a mock interview with me so I can get confident, so I know my answers, so I'm not stuttering and I'm not nervous, like, you know, and that shit helped. Like,
How nervous were you in your first interview?
oh yeah, every interview I've gone into, I've been nervous.
Nervous,
you
yeah.
know.
But the more you feel that
But the more
nervousness-
practice I had,
Yeah.
like
The-
the more
the easier it
confidence
is,
and I guess less nervous, but still nervous.
Yeah, it's healthy to be nervous. I think no matter what, you're always going to be a
Yeah.
little bit nervous, but the
I think-
more you feel that feeling, the more you get comfortable with it.
And that's part of the process with fire. It's like they're only looking to hire like a few spots, and there's a pool of like hundreds of people
Yeah.
applying for, you know, like 10, 20 positions, you know.
Yeah.
that
And
competitive.
so
Wow.
you got to be better than everyone else. And if you don't get it, like you have to learn how to deal with failure, right? And I think that's part of like what makes you a good candidate is like, yeah, all right, I didn't get it this time, but bet that I'm going to be coming back around next time,
Not giving
better,
up.
stronger, like, you know, and
Yeah.
look for me then, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if, like, I don't know, in fire, you just don't want people who like, oh, yeah, I tried, but I didn't get hired,
I
I didn't
gave
get on
up.
the list,
Yeah.
like, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we deal with failure. We see, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like like there's so many things out of your control,
Mhm.
right? But like, what's your attitude? Like, what's your action? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. You know, we got to take a break.
We
We're
do.
here with Brady. We've got so much more to talk
I know
about.
I want to hear about fires.
Yeah. Okay. The Pyro and Lara comes out finally halfway through the show.
Yes.
But we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. And we're back.
Hey.
I should have waited just a little bit longer because I saw the look on your face being like, is he actually going
Is he
to
going
do
to
it?
say it?
Are we going to come back?
I was counting.
Yeah. Brady. We're back with Brady, episode 271. We're just getting into not that the first half was bad. We're getting
No.
into stuff that you do now, you know?
Yeah.
And we talked
I'm
about,
excited about this. You're going to talk about my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's that?
that is a burning car.
car fires, baby.
Why do you,
Car fire.
okay, we can start there. Let me pick your brain a little bit, Kurt. Why do you like car fires so
Yeah,
much?
why?
I don't know. They're always just, I mean, I pass them on the freeway or the roads or
Yeah.
whatever. You know, there's this flaming car that's on the side of the road. And
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, look at that. It's
Yeah.
a fucking car on fire. That's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I'm glad that nobody's hurt or
I'm always
inside. or
worried they're
anything
going to
like that, but-
explode.
Well, there's
But
is
sometimes they
gasoline
do.
in there, and then the tires do explode. I didn't know this, but one day I came across like an auto shop in the back where a semi was on fire, and I was the first one there to call it. And they're like, "Well, what's going on? Is there like propane tanks or anything? Don't get too close." And right when I started like kind of walking close, one of the tires exploded from the fire. I thought that I was dead.
Airbags too.
Oh, the
You
airbags
gotta watch out for
exploded?
airbags,
Oh,
side curtains, and
I wouldn't even think.
Oh
of
yeah,
that.
because of the
Airbags
CO2
does-
cartridges or whatever that inflates them.
yeah,
Yeah, they
and
blow up.
Dude, that could hurt you severely if you go in to try and pull somebody out of a
Oh,
car
yeah.
fire and that airbag goes off.
first thing we try to do is disconnect the battery.
Oh yeah, okay.
But it still takes a few minutes before that airbag is non-functional.
Yeah, okay.
I like how you said DC and then you corrected yourself. Disconnect.
Yeah, I've
Is that
got to
what that
speak in
stands
like layman terms.
Yeah.
I would
So
have.
if I'm saying something that you guys don't understand, like by my vernaculars or
Yeah.
like
So,
explain what that meant.
you first. Let's kind of go back a little bit before we get too deep into car fires. Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
Kurt. Okay. But you you did Wildland for a little bit too, which that's work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
I had
god.
a good friend of mine did Wildland for a couple years, and that's like roughneck shit. You know, you're in the middle of nowhere. You're probably eating MREs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you don't get you work all day and you sleep and then you work.
That's how it goes, baby.
So that's like, do you get hazard pay for that?
Yeah,
Out of
H pay.
curiosity.
Yeah, H pay,
Yeah.
hazard
Yeah.
pay.
Mhm.
Yeah, you get hazard pay, especially if you're on an incident.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing to me, and maybe you can shed some light on this. I know a little bit about it because I've looked into it, but it seems impossible to me on a large scale to contain a forest fire. And I know a lot of times you can't, but there's a strategy to it, right? They just don't throw you in somewhere and say, start spraying water. Good luck. there's a strategy to the whole operation, right?
Yeah, there's strategy, tactics, operations, and depending on the size of the incident, like it's all based on like an incident command system. The ICS is what we call it. It actually happened after 9/11 because we all had to figure out how to operate and perform like our job under the same like order of directions. Right?
Yeah, because so on a wildfire, you might be on the ground, but then you've got an airplane over you or a helicopter's, helping support what you guys are doing. So you all have to be on the same page.
Yeah. We have different radio channels, and they designate that. Like your IC is your incident commander, and they kind of run the whole situation. But then under them, it's just order of chain of command.
Chain of command. Yeah.
So do you clear to stop, like clear a path so the fire won't jump?
So we can build line.
Yeah, that's what that's called.
Yeah. Sometimes we get dozers involved, where they can build line real quick and make a nice swath, where we try to get down to the mineral soil is what we call it, where nothing's going to burn.
That's kind of crazy, though, and I'm sure there's a strategy to where you build a fire line because fires can jump freeways. A freeway is a man-made fire line in a way, but they still, if they're big enough, they can find a way over.
Yeah, we try to use whatever man-made or geographical advantages we have, but
Wait, so when you say mineral soil, you mean clear out all the pine needles, pine cones, that kind of
all the
crap?
duff, anything that's going to ignite. Yeah,
I think that's we'll make it current events. I think that's probably a problem in Canada. I watch a lot of survival people on YouTube from Canada, and they always make sure they clear all the duff away from where they're going to have their campfire, because they're you could start a fire and then put your fire out, but that could just be smoldering underneath, and it can go for for miles.
It can.
Yeah.
Underground, right?
Yeah, it's basically just smoldering and not really doing much.
It can just be skunking along, you don't even see.
And crop up somewhere else.
And then a thunderstorm comes through and the wind picks up and boom, a forest fire.
Yeah, exactly. Weather is so influential in wildfires.
Yeah, what's the one thing in a wildfire that you hate the most? Probably the wind, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Because the wind changes everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're always taking different, you're spinning weather, trying to see what weather changes are happening. And
you probably have a dedicated person on your team that's just looking at weather.
Yeah, you post a lookout up who's spinning weather.
Yeah.
Sometimes every hour, sometimes whatever, but they're looking at forecasts. You get stuff from the government, tells you what your weather forecasts are look like. You read that every day before you go out, what your warnings are, what's going on, the incidents in your area. And even, out of state, but usually, we're in Utah, so we're the Great Basin area.
Yeah.
And so, part of our morning checkoffs or meetings is, all right, this is our weather today. This is what forecast is. This is what we have going on here. Especially if it's a red flag warning day,
everything's everything's easily ignited.
Yeah.
So, have you been actually scared doing that job?
Scared in wildland?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But it's kind of fun too at the same time,
Makes you feel alive a little bit.
It's holy shit, this is hot.
And I think that to somebody like me or you, Laura, we probably don't understand the heat that a forest fire can produce. Obviously, you're the one on the front line. If I even wanted to try and go it's on fire, let me go check it out. They're going to stop me well before I can even get close.
Do I still have eyebrows?
Yeah. So have you ever, I know one of the things from my buddy who did wildland is it's a huge thing to not get cut off from the engine. If you're out on a line and the fire starts coming around, you're in deep shit.
Yeah, you want to have your escape route, safety zones planned out, and that's kind of part of it. You go through your checklist, go, no go. Are we going to fight fire right here? Or are we going to do a indirect or a direct attack? And
then maybe the fire, if it goes this way, then I'm sure your team's looking out for you too. People back at the engine, they're hey, the fire's moving this way. You should get out of there. Or I'm sure it's a dynamic situation all the time.
And we practice deployments all the time, so we always carry fire shelters on us. And if you hear someone's deploying, that is a serious thing. If they deployed their fire shelter, it's not likely
what's a fire shelter? Sorry.
It's pretty much
I made that laugh just because it's it's a blanket.
That's
it's like a tent.
It's like a little silver thing. It looks like a baked potato.
Okay.
Which is probably what you'll be if you have to deploy it.
Yeah. So if anyone deploys their fire shelter, you hear that on the radio, or you hear that, that's like a mayday. type
It's almost
thing.
like saying goodbye in a way, but then you're like, all of your focus is we have to help this
Yeah.
person,
Yeah,
like,
so
as quick as
it's-
possible.
they're
But you
surrounded
can't do
by
anything to
fire.
help them. You just got to let the fire front pass. And so we practice deployments like all the time. You could you throw your tools, throw your gas, throw your chainsaws, clear a swath, like to get down in mineral soil, deploy your shelter in like, I don't know, like
It's like
30 seconds or less.
Yeah.
And you're in there and you just,
You're good.
cover your mouth and breathe into the dirt because that's where it's the coolest. And thank God I've never had to deploy, and I hope I
I
never
just got
will.
anxiety.
Yeah, because you're
Just
thinking
listening
about
to
what
that,
it would
yeah.
I know that a lot of listeners are thinking right now smoke jumpers, and there's been many stories where do you know what a smoke jumper is, Laura?
Mm-mm.
They parachute in. So if you can't
In
get
the middle of the fire?
they
Those
usually
guys are
try,
badass.
they try to
Why?
get ahead of it. So they'll go when the fire's moving towards them, they'll parachute in, and then they start making a fire line, or they start preparing for the fire to come that direction.
Yeah.
But they're also the ones that are at the highest risk of having to deploy. Right? You can correct me if I'm
No,
wrong,
yeah.
Brady.
Like there's always the elite too.
Yeah.
Like you look like, oh, I want to be that guy. Oh, I want to be the
Yeah.
I want to be the Sawyer. You
Yeah,
know, who's like
it's
cutting
like-
trees, and then
It's like Maverick and Top Gun.
kind of
You wanna
like
be
top
that.
of the
Yeah.
I don't know. For Wildland, it's like the elite. It's like smoke
Yeah.
jumpers. They're like the fighter pilots, right? Like
Yeah.
in Top
So,
Gun.
so they're
Yeah.
jumping into smoke where there's no fire to try and get
Yeah,
ahead
no,
of
they're
it.
jumping in
Okay.
in where there's fire for sure.
But they're also deep in there. So
Yeah.
they've been dropped in usually from a helicopter or an airplane, and you can't just like, hey, send the helicopter back. Shit's getting crazy here. You're just there for as long as it takes sometimes, and sometimes, the fire changes, I imagine, and then they get pulled out and sent
Always
somewhere
changing.
else. But they're literally like, once you're on the ground, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
good luck. You better
So,
know how
like-
to survive.
Who says sign me up for that?
I don't think anybody says it, but I
Like
think,
it's an earned position.
Yeah.
Like you got to like fucking prove yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it is one of those. I think there's separate training for it, of course. And then,
Yeah.
And then you have to, like, the team that you're on probably has to be like, yeah.
It's like a big time promotion. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you made it to the big time.
Yeah, it's not. That's an interesting thing to bring up because it's not like you can just be like, I want to be a smoke jumper. Okay, well,
Yeah.
start at the bottom, dude.
Yeah, like what quals do you have? Like qualifications? Like
Yeah.
what? Like yeah.
Yeah. And by all means, I think a lot of those people are people who have earned that, And then
Oh
on
fuck
top
yeah!
of
They're not
that,
gonna just take a green rookie who's
no way.
never been on a wildfire before, put him on a smoke jumper.
Yeah.
No.
You got to work as a team.
I'm sure it's recommended too.
Even on a shot crew,
Yeah.
it's hard to get on as a rook. You know.
Yeah.
Like
Well, when you're in that situation, the team is probably everything, right?
Mhm.
You're literally relying on each other to keep yourself alive. At
yeah,
that point,
and if you
which
don't hold up your end, like
you're letting everybody else down.
exactly,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Each job is important.
Yeah, and with what you do, just like okay, Kurt, you ready? Like in a car fire, for example, you still have to go out there, and there's still these precautions you have to take. At some point, I think we had mentioned before the show, like a fuel tanker going
Mhm.
down the freeway catches fire. There's not really much you can do. You just make sure that shit's not going to blow up, or if it's going to be a huge fire, you just minimize the damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
So-
weird to think about, that there's fires so big that you
can't-
show up and you're
yeah.
like, we can't do anything.
We call it taking a defensive operation. You know, or
Have you ever
stance.
had to do anything like that?
Yeah, where it's been defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
where it's just like you're protecting exposures, you're getting people pulled outside, and you're not going interior.
Did you
Yeah.
have anything to do with that fire that happened in Sugar House?
Oh, the apartment fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
didn't have anything to do.
Seemed crazy.
No, it was, like it was a ripper for sure.
So training as a firefighter in Utah, we're kind of like, at least for a long time, me growing up here, we've expanded like flat, right? Like single family homes and stuff like that. And I think right now we're just getting into building vertically.
Yeah, multifamily housing.
Yeah. Does that change your training or the way you think about firefighting?
Oh, yeah.
Good
Absolutely.
question.
We always, yeah, and that's where it's gotten to, like especially in the valley, where we can't go out, we can't expand horizontally anymore,
Yeah.
and so we go vertically. And
So is it worse to go vertically, like to fight a fire? If you pull up to, say, like a 10-story building, it's on floor 8, then you're like, oh shit. Is that worse than showing up to maybe a single family home that's on fire?
it's so dynamic. Every fire that you go on, it's like you don't know what the fuel load is, like what is burning, if there's victims trapped. I mean, obviously, if there's stories like, apartments or stories above, you want to rescue those victims as well. Where a single family might be a little more, I guess, simple in the fact where you kind of know a basic layout.
Yeah.
But, and then depending if you can make the stretch too with like your ladder or whatever, if you have to window rescue or balcony.
I'm sure in single family homes, and there's fire code specifically for that. They have to be spaced apart a certain amount. So if like my house were to catch on fire, my neighbor's house is probably okay, within reason.
Hopefully. Depends on how big it is and what's going on,
Or hopefully the neighbors down there, hose down his roof and stuff.
But we train on apartment fires, like multi-story structures, and a lot of times like every place should have a FDC, which is a fire department connection, so we can pump the building pretty much and use the stairwell. They have those pipes. I don't know, every time go through a stairwell, look at those pipes. They're called standpipes, and that's what'll take us so we can plug our hose, or we can connect our hose to that story or that level, that floor, and use water from there from our engine.
That's cool.
So, and one of the things that I found interesting is I think building codes have changed. So my neighborhood's relatively new, 7 years.
Yeah.
So I'm the closest to the fire station. Everybody behind me has fire sprinklers in their house.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. You didn't have to put fire sprinklers in because you're like you're across the street from the fire station.
So it depends on how far you are. So I think that's like code now.
I think you've got to be less than a football field and a half from like the fire station without giving away where you live.
Right.
It's like, we can tell where. Yeah, we can't do that.
A lot of commercial businesses, we want to see sprinklers and make sure that they're working and they get tested regularly.
Yeah, one thing that we actually dealt with when we built the studio, we just put in some foam, and part of that was covering up the window over here. But there's handles in that window so that if we're down here doing a podcast and all of a sudden smoke's coming under the door or something, we can rip that out and get out. Because at first we were kind of thinking, let's just cover it up, dude, because we don't want the light in here anyway, and we don't maybe want somebody getting in that way. But then I was thinking about it with Kurt, and we're like, we should probably at least make it so we can exit the studio.
That's
if we
a
got
good idea.
I was wondering where the window was, or the exit,
right over,
because it's like this is a closed off room.
You can see a little slit in the foam right there. That's a metal handle that's screwed into the piece of so the frame that we put over the window, and you'll have to pull pretty hard, but you can get it out.
So I would mark that as like an exit. Like just put exit or window or emergency exit, like right there.
Yeah.
Just in case, like I'm not the fire marshal or anything.
No, but at the same time,
good idea though.
Yeah, it's fair.
But if you have someone new in here, and don't know what.
Well, there's at least 2 people in here that know that there's a window there.
Right.
3 people now.
Yeah, 3 people.
And 4 people.
And
that are not
thanks
gonna
for
be
letting me know.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Don't go that way. That's the closet. You can get in there too.
Because I can't find the doorknob, so
we'll pull the handles for you.
Thank you.
It would have been cool if can we cover those handles in like the break glass in case of emergency?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
In case of emergency, break glass.
Break glass, yeah. How much of so being a firefighter isn't just going to house fires or going to car fires. There's an EMT aspect to that and a first responder thing to it. So what would you say is the percentage of fires versus just going to somebody's house for a medical emergency? Or
90% medical.
Yeah.
10% fire. And a lot of those are false alarms, smoke alarms, but we train like every set that we're gonna get like the real fire.
Yeah,
because you never know when that real fire is gonna happen.
The same way every time. You just show up and do your job.
Yeah. But a lot of our calls are medical.
Yeah,
because you guys are all EMTs.
Yeah, or at least EMTs.
What about unique rescue?
Like you need like a animal rescue, like heavy rescue. Someone's trapped, like they've been rock climbing.
Search and rescue.
Yeah, well, not search and rescue, but like I don't know, like.
Yeah, someone locks their kid in the car.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And they're at Walmart and it's 80 degrees outside and it's
Brady
a new mom
shows up with a spark plug and he's like, "I've done this before."
Yeah, we try to do the least damage as possible, but we got tools to break into cars. We're not gonna just do it if you lock your keys in your car.
Get those jaws out and fold the roof back.
Yes,
you might as well.
Oh,
have you ever had to use the jaws of life?
Yeah.
You have? Holy shit. We got to visit your fire station.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We just got electric ones too.
Really?
Yeah. So there used to be a pneumatic, like hydraulic pump. We'd have to take the pump with us, and then it would be tangled up in cords. Yeah. We got cutters, spreaders, and like a ram bar. But
it's cool there's a tool like that that exists, but I'm sure when you're the person that needs to have that tool used to get you safe, you're in a bad situation.
yeah, you're having a
Yeah.
shitty day for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But everyone that knows their job, we get on scene, we establish like a command similar to a wildland incident, right? Where we know what's going on, and then you just get your job, you get your duties, what you got to perform from command, right?
Mhm.
Or whoever's in charge. Hey, go be patient care, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, I need this person extricated. Hey, let's stabilize this vehicle. It's on its side,
Yeah.
right? Like everyone's out of it. Like, and you just kind of like hit your priorities, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
First is life safety, right? Second is property conservation.
Yeah.
And then, you know, third is like trying to minimize the damage,
Yeah.
you know?
How many jumpers like off a building do you get? Have you?
Jesus.
Like,
Well, let's just fucking go to the darkest. How many
Like
people
suicides?
How many
like
people
people
jump
on
off?
the roof? Like, yeah.
How many people?
So I watched the. Have you ever watched Chicago Fire?
No.
So they have such.
Everyone tells me like, oh, you guys are just like Chicago Fire.
You probably get so sick of that.
And sometimes it's on, we watch it on the station or
Yeah.
just like in the background. We're
They
like,
have
this
such
is such
crazy
bullshit.
Stuff, yeah.
Well, I will tell you, Laura, I don't
Yeah.
know about Brady, and you can answer after, but when I worked downtown, I know of one person who did jump off of a building.
Yeah.
The building was 4 stories tall, and it wasn't tall enough.
Yeah.
So that was pretty horrible
Was
to
it on
see.
second?
Yeah, I don't know. I also saw a guy's leg get cut off by tracks, but
Yeah.
he was trying to jump in between the train.
I don't know. They just
Oh.
have these crazy scenarios on
And
Chicago
the crazy
Fire.
The crazy thing is the guy that jumped in between tracks, he probably would have been okay, except that it cut off his leg on the thigh. So by the time anybody could get there, he was just bleeding too
Just
much.
bled out from
Oh.
the
There's no
femoral
way.
artery.
Yeah, there's
yeah.
no way. It was just so quick. So think before you decide to get your leg cut off in
Yeah.
the morning. I guess make your bed
Make your bed
so that you don't
every
get
morning.
your leg cut off later on.
Make your bed, and if you're having thoughts like that, let's talk.
Yeah.
You know, like there's help out there.
Yeah, there really is. Is there? Do you have a? Well, you can answer Laura's question. Have you ever been to the scene of somebody who's jumped off of something?
Yeah.
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 Oh, they're about to. They're on
About
the roof
to?
of like a 2-story building.
Just two.
And
So did you like put out this big old thing for
Yeah,
them?
they-
to
no,
jump
I
on?
wish we don't have those trampolines
Yeah.
and those fucking
was gonna say
things
that-
that like
It was
they
Brady.
see in the movies,
Yeah.
or I'm thinking of, was it Dumbo?
Yeah.
You know, where they
Yeah.
have like the big old net, circular
Yeah.
net type thing.
It was Brady and 7 other firefighters. They were all holding a trampoline, and then the worst part is it
A
just
blanket.
bounced off anyway.
Yeah, we don't like, and
I'm
a lot
sure-
of times too, if it's like we work with our police, you know, really well, and we don't want to be put in a situation if there's, you know, firearm involved or anything where
Well, now they
Like-
just call and rent a bouncy house,
yeah.
blow that thing up and jump.
Yeah,
Do
you
a
could.
flip.
Make sure you do a cool trick on your way
Lend
down.
it.
But yeah, we always try to make sure like our scene, like we always make sure our scene is safe before
Yeah.
we enter it. You know, like
Yeah.
there's no need for more casualties or injuries, but we train for, you know, mass casualty incidents,
Yeah.
like MCIs is what we call it. So
Yeah.
like any active shooter and stuff, we
Yeah.
work with SWAT police and know how to like do medical and everything like that. Like, you know, hopefully that never happens to
Yeah.
our,
Yeah.
you know, our valley or our city, but it has in the past, you know, the
It
Trolley
has.
Square shooting, like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think one thing interesting with that is the Valley has recently been rebuilding a lot of schools, and I think it's probably because of that. You know, now we've got new technology. You can, you know, from a button in the principal's office, you can lock every door in the school.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
just lock down that quick. So it
Definitely
makes
needed,
sense, yeah. Because
Yeah.
even though you would be there and you would respond, and I'm sure you'd do your best to help, you don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
no, yeah,
You know?
don't, no,
No.
I wouldn't want that for anyone, you know, but that's our job, right? We respond to any problem people have. Like when they can't figure shit out themselves, like they call us, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the job too, is that like we're problem solvers. We got to
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
and like we got to figure out how to solve this problem, because the people that call, like,
They're
can't
in
figure
trouble.
it out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they need help, you know?
Yeah. I wanted to ask this like since the beginning, but I think it's appropriate now. What's like a call you went to that you were like, this is silly?
There's probably a long list.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough time.
Yeah, just one or two.
Most favorite.
Without giving away, obviously,
Yeah.
any confidential information, things like that.
Just like recently that happened.
Up to you,
Or up
man.
to me,
whatever,
like-
Funniest.
whatever you're okay. Yeah, or just a really funny
Yeah.
one.
Like nosebleeds. People that like they call you because their nose is bleeding.
No, seriously?
Oh yeah, yeah, all the time.
Nosebleeds
Not all the time.
are kind of well, we're also in Utah, and I know a lot of people who've moved from California, and then they're like,
Not
oh, I've
used
got
to
a
the desert.
nosebleed. Like, it's really dry here, and my nose is bleeding. But a nosebleed, I guess, seems like a lot of blood. But if you had one before, you're like, oh, my nose is bleeding. I'll just put some tissues in there and be good.
Yeah, and I don't like.
Do you think people panic because of the blood?
Yeah, probably. They panic because of the blood, and they're like, "Oh, it's not stopping." After that, and it's just like, "Well, did you try packing it? Did you try pinching it? Like, are you still trying to like breathe out your nose, like sneeze and stuff? Like, you're not gonna help the clotting." But
Do you think that somebody got shot and it's just a really bad nosebleed where somebody's farmer blowing around their house, just
yeah,
shooting the blood out?
little snot rocket.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know, they won't stop. Well, you have a bloody nose. A snot rocket probably isn't the appropriate way to handle
Lay
it.
down, put your head back, pinch.
We had a guy on our show that Laura knows who, and I think that you've probably heard about this story. In fact, I know you have. I mentioned it, and you're like, I've heard about that in the firefighter world. He tore his nutsack open on my drum set.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's, I think, is one of the, and he's been on the show to talk about it.
Yeah.
He's very open. I've seen his balls more than any other human beings, maybe except for mine, but more than I need to.
Mm-hmm.
But he's open about it, and I remember the fire department showed up, and there was a female working. I don't know if she was working for the fire department or ambulance, but he was holding his junk, and she came in like, you need to calm down. Everything's going to be okay. We're here to help. And he just goes, you don't even have fucking balls. and she's like, give him the morphine. Gave him the morphine. And then as he's being carried through my garage, she's like, I'm really sorry I yelled at you guys. I didn't mean it.
I did hear about that call.
See, that's crazy.
I know who was on it.
That's so
But
weird.
yeah, we get to see. Yeah, there's so much poop involved in our calls sometimes. Like
Really?
poop, like shit. Like
Because
so many people, old people especially, they fall down and they've been on the ground for hours overnight and they shit and piss themselves.
Aw,
It's sad, you
It
know.
is sad.
sad.
but
You go to pick them up and it's just like, oh, you break the seal and it's like, and you try not to gag.
And that's the
But-
reality too, is we talk about like fires and first responding to like horrific accidents, but in the meantime you still have to get those calls where
Yeah.
like somebody did just fall down and then got
Yeah.
found, and then you're the first people there to help.
Yeah, and you still want to like,
It doesn't
keep them
change the
decent. It's like, hey, dude, don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, I still shit my pants probably 2 times a year. I think it's a fart and it's not.
Gamble on a fart and lose.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Sometimes it happens.
one of my captains told me the sphincter is the smartest muscle in the body because it recognizes a solid liquid and a gas in a microsecond.
That's so true. That's so true.
But like, I still try. Like, hey, like, try not to
Everybody's
embarrass
human.
them or like,
Yeah.
it's just like, you
Dignity,
know what? Like,
yeah.
hey,
I've seen worse.
I've wiped
things.
asses before. I've changed pants, helped people get dressed. Like,
At that
it's
point,
it's
you're
like
just
I
doing a
hope
job.
when I get to that age, it's like someone will be decent to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're already having like, think about it, like
Yeah.
they're already fucking shit themselves. Their wife can't pick them up because they're 90 years old as well,
Yeah.
They've earned their stripes.
and it's just like, hey, dude, like
You've done. Yeah.
you're good, man.
That's
Like,
why we're here. That's why you're there.
yeah,
Yeah.
For people like.
let me clean you up a little bit. Let's get some pants on. Let's get you to the hospital.
Yeah.
And like, there's no reason to be embarrassed. It's
No.
everyone shits.
Yeah, but I think a lot of times people are embarrassed anyway, because it's like the one time or the few times in their life where they're gonna have to use the service you provide, and so they're, oh, what are they gonna think? And I'm so embarrassed, or the fire truck's gonna be in front of my house and stuff. But the reality is
dude,
that
it's so bad, and like all the Mormon or all the neighbors, come out.
yeah, oh yeah,
Like the bishop's
just in
already
general.
there, Relief Society's already there with the casserole. What's happened? What can I do?
I already got
Like,
the funeral potatoes.
yeah, you go on a cardiac arrest, and there's a guy storming through the front door like, I'm the bishop. It's like,
Okay.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
like, give
go-
us some privacy.
Yeah, go back home, man.
Yeah.
Like, we've got it covered.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're trying to like save a life.
Yeah, let us do our job.
Let us do our job. Quit
Yeah, I bet
interrupting.
that happens a lot too. Is people being curious? Because
yeah,
I know
yeah.
when I see smoke, like a big plume of smoke, I do have like the urge
Should I
to
drive
be like,
to it?
yeah, let's
Should
go
I
check
see
it out.
Check it
But,
out.
like your worst nightmare, right? But and the police would be there and they'd be like, don't get any closer. So you're kind of protected from that. But I don't understand why. I guess I do because I like fire just as much as the next person. Watching shit burn is kind of cool if it's not my shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
But
it's
at the same time,
explosive.
that doesn't help you. If you're trying to get to a scene and there's a huge crowd, it's just like back up. Give
You
us
kind
some
of,
room.
you just learn to tune that out, and just focus on the task at hand. And
Yeah.
but you still gotta like be wary. Like everyone's got their cameras out now.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's filming,
yeah.
and it's like, so you just got to be dialed
Yeah.
100%. And
Have you had to do like a rescue? Have you had to run in and because I think Hollywood and TV shows like Chicago Fire dramatize it a lot where. Oh, there's somebody at the second story. I got to run through this burning house and then get them out.
There's timber running, like falling.
How
on
much
me
of a reality is that actually?
I mean, it all depends on the incident, right?
But it's not like an everyday occurrence. Or
Yeah.
anything like that,
I've grabbed 2 dogs before.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 dogs. I've got 2 dog rescues under my belt.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Were
Not
they
a-
Chihuahuas?
No, they were actually
assholes.
like a
He was like, no, I have 2 failed dog rescues and they were Chihuahua. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Yeah.
The cats I just left. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding for anyone out there.
Yeah.
They got 9 lives, so I just throw them out the window.
I think that's another thing
They
too.
land on their feet, man.
In a house fire, you don't really think. Of course, if your house was on fire and you had pets, I'm sure you're thinking about your pet, but your first thought is to get yourself to safety, right?
Yeah.
But
I
then,
don't
of
know.
course-
For me, I'd probably be my dogs first.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think that, if I had to think it through, dogs that I've had in the past, if my house was on fire, I probably wouldn't leave until I found them. But if for some reason it was too much smoke or too much fire, when you got there, I would be like, my dog's in there, please go.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and that's, I don't know. If I hear there's an animal in there, like,
You're just, boom, go.
oh,
I guess you can't.
I can't. Yeah, you don't want to like freelance, because that's really
Yeah.
dangerous too on the fire ground,
Yeah.
like on an
You
incident.
don't
It's
be a
like,
hero, right? Like be calculated.
give your
about it.
get your orders and directions and follow those, and don't deviate from that,
Yeah.
because then that's when you get an incident within an incident, right?
Yeah.
Where you have a down firefighter or something like that. And
Because the last thing you want to do, right, is go to a fire and then cause a bigger problem.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
like
we're
everything needs to be
really trained on not to freelance and do your own, don't do your own thing.
Yeah.
Take your orders and follow that order,
Yeah.
So have you had to rescue a cat out of a tree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did once.
Huh.
And when I got close to it on the ladder, it jumped.
So after all that work, you're like,
Yeah.
this
The
fucking
worst
cat.
was a goose on top of a building.
Really?
I got close, and guess what?
It flew away.
Exactly.
It's like that
Who
video.
called
It's
that-
kind of an older video, but have you seen that video where the firefighter he's got it's like a cherry picker or somebody. I don't know if it's a firefighter.
Can you
or not.
find it before you tell me?
No.
No. Okay.
But
You got the
I can
TV.
find it, but there's no audio to it.
Oh, okay.
I do love our animal rescue calls, and we're getting quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think we had 2 or 3 this last set, where it's springtime, so we got mama duck and all our ducklings, following her around one by one,
Crossing the road or something.
crossing the road, and they get stuck in a storm drain.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so we lift up the grate, rescue the ducks, and
And then,
everyone's happy.
and then
we
they go on to the next storm drain.
yeah, yeah. Those are I like those calls,
They're
like,
like super wholesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you feel good about those,
Yeah.
Tell me about this goose.
It wasn't a goose. It was a
Oh,
cat.
it was a cat.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
the goose was yeah. Sorry, I
yeah. So
mixed it up.
there was a cherry picker. Some dude in a cherry picker. He's getting it up there to get this cat off the top of a telephone pole or something. And so sure enough, he grabs the cat and pulls it down and moves the cherry picker away. But somebody reversed the video so it looked like they were
putting
putting the cat up
Yeah,
there
have
and
you seen?
leaving it.
There's firefighter videos of people rescuing victims from buildings
Yeah.
in reverse, and they're putting people in burning buildings.
Back in there.
The power of the internet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Brady, thank you so much
Yep.
for giving us a little bit of insight on who you are
Yeah.
and firefighting in general. I feel like I need to set up a time where the team can come down and just mess around with the jaws of life. I'll sacrifice my own old car for that.
hey, if you
Would
guys want
you?
to come by my station,
I
just
would
let me
love to,
know,
man.
and
Maybe we'll cook lunch or something.
Yeah, I'll show
or
you
bring
guys around.
food or something. I'd
Fuck
love to
yeah,
do that.
let's do
Okay.
it.
All right,
And-
cool.
anyone out there looking to become a firefighter, get your EMT, do it, and then don't get disheartened if you don't get picked up your first time or second time. Like, just stay at it. And anyone out there dealing with addiction or like mental health, like, you're not alone. And I hate to say it, it's so cliche, but like, dude, if I could do this and have this life that I have now, like, anyone can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's help out there, and if you need help, like, I'm happy to talk to you too, you know, because I've been there.
Firefighter and still selfless. And you're a great person to represent that, you know, and what you've been through. There's people like Brady that if you do need help, they are not going to judge you. They're not going to think that you're a horrible person. You've been there before, you know, yourself, Brady, and people need help, and it's okay to get it.
And, you know, if you want to reach out to Brady, reach out to us at
seriously.
Contact at
theweeklyInsalt.com, and we'll connect you with them.
Yeah. You know, I've been there, and like, it honestly, like, you're not an inconvenience. It helps me by helping you, you know, because I get out of myself.
This has been your weekly insult. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
The day with us.
Yeah.
Well, not the whole day, but.
Thank you for your service, man.
If you ever get dispatched to my house, I just hope it's not another torn nutsack. It might be a good story. Drum sets have a lot of.
All right, let me see that.
I don't know where it happened. She can show you.